Hello and welcome to video 2 on becoming a car mechanic in 5 videos. In this video, we're going to talk about the engine bay. You guys are going to learn a lot, so without further ado, let's start. All right, the first thing you want to do when you're working on the engine bay is wear safety protection. I like to wear gloves just so I can keep chemicals off my hand. iPro, we have some towels and a light and pretty much anything you need to do to protect yourself. Okay, we're going to start off with one of the most common things out there, and that's checking the engine oil. Now, on some modern vehicles, you cannot check the engine oil with a dipstick. They do it electronically now. But on this vehicle, we have a dipstick, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the dipstick. I'm going to wipe it off, and that's the first step you always want to do. Now, on our particular vehicle, it's been sitting overnight, which is kind of what I like because you know that the oil has drained all the way to the pan and we can get an accurate reading. And on our dipstick, we technically have a low and fill line, and in every vehicle it varies. Some of the vehicles, this is a half a quart measurement, this is a quart measurement, so you want to check your owner's manual. So now that we've cleaned up our dipstick, we're going to go ahead and put it back in. We're going to let it sit all the way down, and we're going to pull it up, and then once we pull it up, we're going to go ahead and level it out. And at this point in time, we're going to look at the lowest marking. And on this particular one, it's going to be this one. And we're between the low and the high mark, so we need to add a little bit of oil, which is okay. And we'll do that later on. And now we're going to wipe it off and put it back in. Now, when we go add oil, we're going to put it right here in this area right here where it says oil, right? See owner's manual. It has the oil type SAE 5W20. And usually these caps will have a little oil icon on here, a little symbol. That's kind of like the universal sign for oil. It's got kind of like a dripping little pan right there. And one of the things a lot of people don't know is that the condition of your engine, you could sometimes get a slight idea by looking at the cap right here. And if you saw this very black, sludgy, that might tell you that, you know, there's some sludge being formed in your engine, but never overlook this. Look at this, look at the seal. Ours looks pretty decent. We have over 160,000 miles on it. So this is kind of a normal color for an oil cap with that mileage. And then what I like to do is I like to look inside here just because I can. And if I could look inside there, I could actually see a little bit of the valve train. You guys might not be able to see it, but it looks nice and clean. What I like to do is anytime you're on the engine bay, you always just kind of want to take the time to clean stuff. So as you can see, that's a little dirty there. And that just happens between oil change intervals. If you're wondering if something's tight or loose, you know, go pull on it, go turn it, just make sure that it's actually seated and that it's actually on there. So we're going to move over here to our brake master cylinder. And what I like to do is I like to get my light. And like I said in the last video, a car mechanic will always have a good light. And I like to look at my brake fluid and I like to look at the color of it, right? And the reason why I'm not opening up this cap is because brake fluid is hygroscopic, and that means that it soaks in moisture and then it goes bad. So not only is the cap important, but you don't want to open this unnecessarily because you could introduce moisture. But two things you want to do. You want to know when's the last time you changed the brake fluid, and then you want to look at the color and make sure it's not contaminated or dirty, and ours looks good. All right, the next thing we want to do is we're going to look at this area. This could be a battery or a fuse box. On this particular vehicle, it's not labeled. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull up on it, and we're actually going to be exposing some fuses and a junction box. And this electrical stuff right here might seem intimidating. It really isn't. This is where your fuses are at, and this is important to know for troubleshooting and diagnostic. But most of the time in a fuse box, if it's not labeled in the outside, the inside is going to have a map. And this is where you can match it up, kind of like a little secret map right here. And you could match up the configuration of this junction box with the actual configuration of the diagram. And so in this case, we could tell that we have these 60 amp fuses right here, yellow ones. So if you look right here, it says 60 amp, 60 amp, 60 amp, and then an 80 amp. We don't have that 80 amp. It's probably for a car with a different feature on it. But we know that we can match up the 60 amp with the 60 amps, and we're able to tell what it is. So when we look right here, we have all the way in the bottom, we have cooling fan. So we know that this one right here is going to be for the cooling fan, just to give you a quick example. But knowing where this is at, identifying where your junction boxes, fuse boxes are at, knowing these electrical components and areas are really key to knowing your car. So we're going to put this back. It's important to put this back because this, you don't want this exposed to the elements. But that's good. Now we have this blue cap right here, and this is really important for beginners and for everyone. This is one of the most dangerous things, in my opinion, for cars, is because you have two caps that look the same, but they're actually really different. So this blue one right here, there's something that says washer only, and there's a windshield, and it looks like washer fluid, and this is for your windshield washer fluid, right? But the design and the shape of this cap is the same as the coolant cap. And to be honest with you, this coolant reservoir cap, they're the same. You never want to get them mixed up. You don't want to put coolant in your windshield washer fluid, but you definitely don't want to put windshield washer fluid in your coolant reservoir. Now, you never want to open this up or this up when it's hot. As you could tell in our entire engine bay, this is one of the only areas right here that has any warning signs, right? We have a warning sign right on this cap that says never open when hot. And the reason why, if you open this up, this will shoot out like a geyser with boiling coolant, which could hurt you and really, really hurt you and burn you. And then right here, we have a sticker for the fan, meaning that the fan could cut you. And then we come over here, and this is the same thing. This is pressurized, so if you open this up when this is hot, this could cause the same thing as the other cap, and it could burn you. So our car is cool, we don't have to worry about that, so we could open it up. And when we open it up, you could actually see some coolant in there. And on our particular car, we could also look on the side of it, and we could see that our coolant is actually on the low line. So we could actually add a little bit of coolant. And this is really important because this is our coolant reservoir, and we always want to have some coolant. So just on our actual overview of our car, we found that we need to add a little bit of oil, and we also need to add a little bit of coolant. So this is perfect. And we check our cars constantly, but this is our daily driver, and it's important for us to do this more often than you think. So as you move along with your engine bay, we're not going to talk a lot about this. This will be later on video or later on course or whatever, but this is the high side of your AC line, and this is a cap. You don't need to mess with it, but if you ever see these caps that have an H on it, that means your high side of your AC line. And it's important to note because these are universal, so these are going to be the same shape, same size for majority of cars, so that's pretty universal. All right, so in every vehicle, you're gonna have an air box, and this is so common for pretty much every vehicle out there. And your air box hopefully is accessible. If you look over here, these clips right here are pretty universal for air boxes, and they're called quick release clips, right? You take them out, put them back on. And essentially, whenever you're looking at your air filter or replacing it, you wanna be able to access it pretty easily. You wanna know how to do it. So in our particular car, we have 4 clips. And I'll undo them. And this box right here is going to be the top side of the air box, and then there's a bottom side of it. As you can see here, we have a mass airflow sensor, and this is what reads the air coming through the air box that goes inside the engine. So in this situation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove the air filter. I've done it a lot of times with this car. And here's our air filter, a K&N air filter. And we just cleaned this not too long ago, so it looks pretty good. But here's your air filter, and a lot of people don't know that when you clean your air filter, when you're looking at your air filter, you always look at the bottom of the box. And you always want to clean the bottom of the box because there's usually a lot of debris. So we're going to do that real quick. All right, so we clean our air filter and we vacuum the area, and we're going to put back all our clips. And we're good to go. Now, every now and then your mass airflow sensor might need cleaning. There's a special chemical for that, and that's a whole different video. But again, I'm going to give you a lot of data. In most cars, you have your headlight here, right? But underneath your headlight, or behind your headlight, there's areas where you could access the bulbs, where you could change out bulbs that are burnt out or anything like that, or you need to adjust your headlight. So just know that most manufacturers make it easy so you could access your headlights. Sometimes some manufacturers make it hard. We have to disassemble a lot, but I wanted to show you that. Now, coming over here, I wish I could ask you guys like an interactive class, but what do you guys think this is, right? It's not labeled, but let's see. It's another junction box, but this is different, guys. This is actually how you jump start the car. And the reason why I say that is because the battery on this particular vehicle isn't located in the engine bay, it's located in the trunk. As you can see here, this is where you would jump the car right there. That's where you would add your positive cable. And of course they're covered, and then we have our negative one over here. This looks pretty good. This is very covered. It would be nice to have some labels, but as you can tell, this is another electrical junction box. And then we come back over here, and it looks like we have an even more interesting box that we're gonna pop this up. And this is a full electronic box with relays, fuses, might even be a computer over here, but there's a lot more fuses. So if you know there's fuses, what are you gonna find in the top? You're gonna find the box. Here, let's show you some light. You're gonna find the diagram right there, guys. So remember, if you see fuses, the diagram is definitely gonna be close by. All right, guys, on most vehicles, you have an engine cover. It's typically just for aesthetics. And what you want to do is you want to learn how to remove it. On our particular vehicle, you have to remove it whenever you do an oil change. And the reason why is because the oil filter is back here. They put the engine cover because this looks like a lot, right? But once you get to know it, it's not very complicated. So this is a V6 engine. There's different configurations. But whenever you're learning to be a car mechanic, you just want to know the configuration of your engine, and you want to look real quickly and see what's available. So on this V6 engine, we can see that we have access to 3 coil plugs. We could access those spark plugs, but if you look over here, we can't access it over here. So we know that that would be a pretty serious job. But we could also see the belt, the accessory belt and everything. That's really important because that is an area that sometimes you need to adjust or replace. We've replaced the belt before. Luckily, on this particular vehicle, you have a lot of space where you could get a hold of the belt. And this is a good time where you can look at your belt, see if it's frayed. And then right here, once we remove the cover, we could also see the power steering fluid, which is important. And as we look around, remember what I talked about, guys? Here's our oil filter. And that's why the cover, removing that cover is important, because we could see where the oil filter is at, and we can see where everything else is located. But this is good for you to know around your engine bay. Most engines are going to be similar, they're going to be the same, but this is just a quick overview of an engine bay so you guys can get an understanding.